I always have an opportunity at this point to say just a little bit about postulancy, and we haven't had one in a while. This one in particular, as you know, has been some time coming. When you make a decision like this, you're never late, you're right on time. It's in God's time. And so, even though our conversation has been quite long, it's quite comforting to know that God is working with us, that He's working in our lives, that we look at the situation. God always speaks to us in the circumstances of our lives. And so you too had to, you Thomas, had to think, pray, reflect, seek counsel, do all those things that you need to do. And over time, I think you don't mind me saying, 3 years, and our conversation has gone. So it's taught me a lot in this, and recognizing that, God works in His time. And even, I'm a late vocation, and I certainly look at the 20 years I spent in the world thinking that what a waste of time. But at the same time, I did come. And so God is using me. And even in the reflection we did on this, the Annunciation of Our Lady, the feast day of the Annunciation, and the reflection talked about the mystery of life. And that even Our Lady, when the angel Gabriel appeared to her and spoke with her, she accepted and she knew, but she wasn't aware of all that was going to come. Only that it would be through suffering. And all of you heard me say that to you, that you know God's will for you and you'll know it through suffering. And even in this weekend, there are no coincidences. God does not work through coincidence. He's speaking to you in your life. And so, as I mentioned, that when you chose this date, at that moment I wasn't totally aware of all that the weekend meant. And we went through First Friday, First Saturday, and then the octave day of Easter, most wonderful thing, Divine Mercy Sunday. And then this year in particular, because March 25th fell during Holy Week, today the church recognizes the feast day of the Annunciation of Our Lady. And so you have to look at that. You cannot look past it. But God gives you those things because He knows you need them. He always gives you the things that you need because of your weakness. That's what it is. And so for you in particular, all these things happened. And I believe it's because of your weakness. And He's saying, look, 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 look. And so you say, okay, like we talked about Our Lady. I don't know that it's a fiat yet, but I do know it's an okay, because you wouldn't be here if it wasn't at least an okay. And that's enough. Even looking at our Lord in the Divine Mercy image, that's all He desires. Just an okay. He doesn't require everything. He wants everything. But if you give Him just that okay, that's hard enough. And He's going to take it, and He's going to use it. And if you continue to follow Him, it's going to be through suffering. And you've already had some of that in discussions with people in your life. That's why I've told you it's a good sign that you've had some of that. Because if everything was going perfect, maybe things are not the way they're supposed to be. And so in my own reflection, especially since we've been seriously talking, since you seriously said, no, I want to enter in. And so many times in my own reflection and prayer, especially I'm thinking of, there have been times in my cell and I'm sitting there in silence and you would come to mind. And I so much wanted to, I'm thinking something's wrong, or he's wavering, or someone's trying to convince him that he's not doing the right thing, something like that. And it came to me a lot over the last few weeks. And the image that I thought of was that of a hatchling. And if you know anything about hatchlings, that sometimes they're weak And they have to break the shell themselves. If you help the hatchling, it may not be strong enough to survive. And so many times, especially over the last recent few weeks, I wanted to reach out and help. And the immediate prayer that came to mind was, let him be. He has to go through this. He's the one that has to choose. He's the one that has to fight and has to make it for himself, make that decision for himself. And it's going to come from in the highest levels of our life. You know, in your situation, all of our situations, our parents are at a very high level. And so we listen to them. We want to know what they think. And so when those challenges come, you're the one that had to do them. And so, like, I guess, I don't know, it's like a mother hen, but I had to really hold myself back and allow whatever God wanted. And that was my prayer. Lord, this is in your hands. And every time you came through. And I kept watching and listening. And it was really something to behold. I think I can use that word. As I watched you peek out of the shell. And praying that you had the strength. That God would give you that strength if you desired it. And I think like every postulant that has come through, you don't really know what you're doing. You don't know what you're asking for. But there's that leap of faith. And we've talked about this. I've talked about it with all of you. Eventually you get to the point, like Our Lady, you say yes, but you don't know everything. And I think you have to recognize you don't know everything. Simply say yes, and you take that step in faith, and for good or for bad, in an earthly perspective, your trust has to be in me. And I say, and I'm the one that reaches out, okay, come. And that's what we're doing today. And so for all of you, as we continue to grow, as the Constitution is written now, I'm sure we'll need a few corrections here or there, but in the ceremony itself, when I stand in great awe of St. Stanislaus, in the reconstitution, the reformation of what I believe he desired, that my brothers in Stockbridge had no interest in. That's what we're doing. And so it's a great thing, because will history call you the troubadours of Our Lady? That it began here. And if you haven't heard me say this, this is not for me. I know that I'll be dead and gone. It's for you. You'll be the ones building it. And that's okay. If you don't know, St. Stanislaus worked very hard. And at the end of his life, when he died at the age of 71, he was very sick. Well, the last 10 years, he's very, very sick. And it wasn't until just a few months before he died that the Marians received approbation from the Holy See. And he made his vows officially. And just a few months later, he died. And I have every expectation of that. I don't know how it's going to be, but I have every expectation of that. And so really what this is not just you coming in, but also you going out. Because that's what it is. It's always going out. Everything God gives to us is never to hold inside. It's to go out. And so now that's what begins. There's an ending to the worldly life. That's why we give up everything. And then you're beginning a hatchling. And so I look at you that way, and you have to react in that way. And just like a hatchling who has worked very hard to come out of the shell, you should feel great joy and comfort and freedom. That's what the world doesn't understand. This is not locking in, this is freedom. And like the little chick, you run around and enjoy the freedom that God has given to you. But stay close to the mother hen. Otherwise, you'll get eaten by the wolves.